And we are doing our very first ever Tony Bruno Show podcast Skype call, ladies and gentlemen. That's the kind of technology we have here. Every week we introduce something new, something earth-shattering, something spectacular. And we bring to you a man who's in his living room somewhere in New York with nothing but gigantic VHS tapes, Betamax tapes, Peabody Awards, all kinds of... Well, there it is. Look at that. That's a beautiful office right there. The man went from...
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm not wearing pants. I'm in my underwear.
Well, so am I, but that's what's great about doing this. The man who went from Italian kid in Providence, Rhode Island, to lawyer, to investment banker, to comedy writer, to comedy star, to winning an Emmy Award, a Peabody Award, to stand-up, to podcasting, to his own CDs, to everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Mercurio, how are you, man?
Wow, I'm great, and I'm really impressed with that guy, whoever you just described. I'm good, my fellow Italian. How are you?
I'm good. I don't have Peabodys or Emmys, though. I did win a Mr. Peabody Award because I used to love Fractured Fairy Tales back in the day. Remember that show?
I remember that show. He had all the answers.
Exactly.
I also think he was getting a lot of tail in that cartoon, but he would never ever say that. But I think he was scoring women. That guy was smart.
Absolutely. Now, so talk about this career, because you're an Italian kid, just like I, growing up in Providence, Rhode Island, New England fan, and then all of a sudden you go from lawyer to investment banker. How the hell did you make the transition? I mean, you could have bought the 76ers, actually. That's the guys up there. You know, Jeffrey Lurie's the New England guy who bought the Eagles. He was, he had money. He had family money. You didn't come from family money, though, did you, Paul?
Listen, based on the way the Eagles and the Sixers are playing, I could buy them both right now. By the way, how is the NFC East going to even have a chance? Really? With these losing records, it's like saying you have a perfect bowler, but you're using bumpers. It doesn't really count. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Didn't the Philadelphia Eagles go up to New England and beat your Patriots a couple of weeks ago as 13-point underdogs?
Yes, but there was I think you guys messed with the footballs. Your football I was a lawyer on Wall Street. I was doing M&A deals. I grew up Italian family in Rhode Island, and I started writing short films. I made some short films. One of them got into the Aspen Comedy Festival. And then I started writing jokes as a hobby. I don't know why. And I was doing these huge M&A deals. I was working like day and night. And then one night there was like a private function, and Jay Leno was performing. And one of the other lawyers goes, "You want to come and take a break?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm going to be here all night. I don't have time." He goes, "Nah, come on." And I'm like, "All right, screw it." And as I stood up from the computer, I remember I'll never forget. I hit the print button, and I'm like, and I printed out all these jokes I had, like a thick, like pages and pages. And he performs. I go up to him afterwards. I go, "Look, Mr. Leno, I don't know if you need jokes, but I got these and I don't know what to do with them." And he goes, "Okay." And he really does talk to everybody like they're letting helium out of a balloon very slowly. It's like freaks you out. Like you just want to go, "Look, breathe, so your head doesn't explode. Breathe." So he takes the jokes. I think I got blown up. The next day he calls me. And he says, "I need jokes for the Tonight Show monologue. I'll hire you to start sending jokes in for the Tonight Show monologue." He goes, "What do you do?" "I'm a lawyer." He goes, "I knew it." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Your setups are way too long. You're too wordy. You write like a lawyer." He goes, "Just get to the joke." Right? 5 days later, he calls me. He says, "I'm going to do one of your jokes on the Tonight Show." And he does that joke. He pays me $50 for the joke. And it was the most powerful thing that ever happened to me. So then I became obsessed with writing jokes and sending them to Leno, to the point where I was going to deal meetings with 2 notebooks. One was for deals and one was for jokes. And I was not taking any deal notes. I was just taking joke notes. And then he said, "Go try the jokes out before you send them to me." And I said, "How do you do that?" He goes, "You go to open mic nights." So I started to go to open mic nights at dive bars around New York City. I would sneak out of work at a dinner break. I'd have a car take me downtown. I'd take my jacket, my tie off, and I'd go to places. One of the places I worked was called Downtown Beirut 2. Now, they were either franchising these hellholes or Israeli fighters felt one. I'm not sure.
Wow.
And basically, it was a dysfunctional Cheers. A hooker worked out of there. Pimp worked out of there. They dealt drugs out of there. There was a sign on the men's room door that said, "The toilet seat is only to be used to go to the bathroom, not to cut coke. Thank you, the management." Thank you, the management. So I'm on stage one night, and I'm waiting to go on stage, and there's a folk singer, because there was poets and folk singers too, and he's playing "Blowing in the Wind" like badly. Like, yeah, there's this huge guy with a cobra tattooed on the back of his shaved head, with studs in his face, like 6'3", and he's like talking to himself at the bar, and I'm sitting next to him in my little Brooks Brothers shirt, and going, and he's like, Richard, and he's like, "Rah, rah," and he goes over to the pool table, and he gets in a fight with a guy. He runs out of the bar, and the guy at the pool table grabs his neck, and he starts screaming, "He cut me, man! He cut me!" And it was a drug deal gone bad, and he sliced him across the side of the neck with a box cutter. Now, all right, he's screaming, but he's drunk. He's not juggler, like he didn't hit the juggler, but he's really bleeding. He cut me. His girlfriend's like, "Oh my God, look at that! He cut me." The answer, my friend. This is all true, by the way. Now, I think the show's over, and I'm about to leave, and I hear the MC go up and go, "All right, you guys ready for some comedy?" So I go on stage right now. I don't know that I don't have to go on stage. I'm doing this like a month. I don't have an act. I don't know what to do. He's screaming, the girlfriend's crying, the cops are there taking a police report. It's mayhem. And I go, "Nice to be here at downtown Beirut, too. I always wanted to follow a slashing." Why, thank you. I thought that was a pretty good line. The guy who got cut heard me said slashing, and he thought I was making fun of him. And he goes, "Hey," and he's drunk, and he goes, "You making fun of me?" He goes, "I don't need to take this crap from you." And he takes all these bloody cocktail napkins, and he wads them up, and he throws them at me.
Wow.
And they stick to my shirt, my white Brooks Brothers shirt, right? I'm going, no one's paying attention. He turns back to the bar, and he goes, "Hey, everybody." He turns to me, he goes, "What are you doing anyway?" I go, "I'm trying to tell jokes." He goes, "Oh, yeah, I like jokes." He turns back to the bar. He goes, "Hey, you guys, shut the hell up. This guy's trying to tell jokes." Every time he would yell, a little bit of blood would come out of his neck and go to squirt out, right?
Wow.
Get back in the car, I go back to the firm. So the end of the story is I'm putting my tie on. I have this blood stain the size of like a grapefruit. I become like a 12-year-old and think I'm going to hide it from all of the lawyers by walking around and like with like a file folder like this up by my shirt. I go into this conference room. I was gone like 4 hours. The senior partner screaming at me. He goes, "Where have you been? What have you been doing? Why do you have a blood stain on your shirt?" And before I could say anything, another lawyer goes, "What kind of shirt is that?" I go, "It's a Brooks Brothers shirt." "Why?" He goes, "I know how to get blood out of a Brooks Brothers shirt." "Club soda and lemon juice." Another lawyer actually goes, No, Armani. That's the shirt you want when you get blood." I go, "What is this, a remake of American Psycho? What are you guys doing here?" Right? So the night ends with me getting in a confrontation with another lawyer over this document I drafted. And I think I still thought I was at the club dealing with hecklers. And he literally, in front of everybody at one point in the conference room, went, "I read this document, and I could have," to me, Mercurio goes, "I could have drafted a better document in my sleep." And I snapped, and I think I was like still in heckle mode, and I just went back at him, and I went, "Oh yeah, well, I could have been your father, but the dog beat me over the fence."
Wow. So from there, at the Beirut 2, what's it called? What was the club again?
Downtown Beirut.
Downtown Beirut 2. You start full time. That's when you got out of law completely and started writing for Leno?
I was doing that for like a year and a half and completely lost and not sure what to do and about to leave, but I was really scared and I was lost. And then my father died unexpectedly, had a heart attack, and I had to go home to Rhode Island to help run the family furniture business. My mother wanted to take it over, and I thought that's what I was going to do. But I come from a very Italian family, and when you go home again, it's like a square peg in a mental institution. Like, you just don't and I come from a really, part of my family's really Italian. Like, my cousin Bobby runs numbers, and he at the front of a woman's shoe store, and he sells stuff that fell off the truck, suits, ratchets. And at one time he was actually selling car alarms that he stole out of other people's cars. and to give you a snapshot of Bobby, this is how he came dressed to my father's funeral, okay? He dresses like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever to this day. He's got a big, thick mane of hair, and this is how he came dressed to the funeral. An open casket, Italian funeral. He comes in a fluorescent orange silk shirt, unbuttoned gold chains, white patent leather belt, white slacks, like a creamsicle with chest hair, right? And then white mesh loafers and no socks, because it was the summer, but you got to put powder on your feet to keep them dry. But Bobby, being the greater, was put too much powder, so every time he'd step toward the casket, puffs of white smoke were coming out of the tops of it. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Somebody nominated a pope. That's awesome, right? And then fast forward the end of the night in the parking lot all the cars had gone from the funeral home, and my cousin Bobby's the trunk of his Ford Torino is open, and he's literally selling suits to a guy in the parking lot of the funeral home of my father's passing. It was just,
wow.
And so I tried to be home and run the business with my mother, but she's insane, and I couldn't do it. It was too much. She wouldn't give up any power. It was nuts.
Exactly. So then, did you move to LA to do this full time, or did you do it from New York?
No, I stayed in New York, and I came back, and I really tried with my mother, but it was insane. Like she just wanted me to run errands and stuff for her, and she would lock customers in the store. Like she'd forget people were in the store, and she'd lock them in the store because she can't hear. She has a hearing aid that whistles all the time. And like I go there one day, and the door's locked, and there's like a 65-year-old woman in the store, and I'm like, man, what happened? She goes, I was looking around, I turned to ask your mother a question, I couldn't get out. I said, how long have you been here? She goes, 5 hours. She goes, well, I browsed a lot. She goes, and I took a nap on that sofa. And she goes, is your name Paul? I go, yeah, why? She goes, well, the phone rang and I took messages. She took messages. So my mother's like in her 70s at this point, and I'm yelling at her. I'm like, Ma, you can't lock people in the store. She goes, I don't know what you're yelling at me about. The woman liked the sofa she took a nap on, and she's going to buy it. She goes, I made a sale, and I wasn't even in the store. I'm done. So I came back, and I left, and I sold my apartment in New York City. I had a nice 2-bedroom co-op, and I moved to a rooming house out in Queens, which was $300 a month, and I had a little 10 by 12 room, and I shared a kitchen and a bathroom. It was this disgusting rooming house, and I shared a kitchen and bathroom with 2 ex-cons, 2 recovering addicts, and a 300-pound phone sex operator who sold Herbalife diet products door to door.
Wow.
And I heard all her phone calls, and all I could say is, it was like disgusting, right? And then I started to live the life of a comic, and then eventually I got a writing job on The Daily Show when it first started.
So this is cool. You're talking Craig Kilborn Daily Show, not Jon Stewart, right? Because he was the original guy who I worked with at ESPN back in the day.
Yeah, and it was funny because the word on the street was when we were like, the show was coming up, and like, the dude Comedy Central's doing this new show, and they're looking for a host, so it like spreads like wildfire among the comedy community, and people are going in for auditioning, and like everybody's like, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? And they're like, well, they're looking for a Craig Kilborn type, and then there'd be a pause in the group, and everybody go, who's Craig Kilborn? But he wasn't like that well known yet, right? And then you see Craig Kilborn, and then like I think I auditioned for it, and then you look at me, I'm like a 5'8" Italian guy with big lips, and then there's like this like Nordic, 6'4",
yeah, he's like 6'4", isn't he?
6'4", blonde hair, always with a mirror in his hand. No, but it was like
very true, actually. That's true.
Yeah, and so that kind of is how it started, and it was really cool because the show was new, and Comedy Central was not as big a network as it is now. So they really like let us try things, and they push the envelope, and then they pull you back. Like one time, I was writing, and then I was also doing some segments on the show, and my writing partner and I. Remember Monica Lewinsky was like rehabilitating her career, and she had done this Vanity Fair spread, and she had like this little country girl thing going, and we got so incensed that she was being able to rehabilitate her career that we wrote this joke that, this is the only thing she's doing. She's also getting product endorsements like this one from the milk industry, and we had them put a shot of milk all over her face, right, with a thing that says "gut milk" in the bottom. But we held the picture back because we knew if they saw it, they would not let us do it. And the president of the network saw it when the show originally aired, and apparently the story is he called up the Comedy Central headquarters and goes, "Who authorized that picture? Pull the show!" And they pulled the show, and they never re-aired the show again.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was cool because then he'd yell at us like your father would yell at you when he'd get mad at you, but he was proud of you at the same time. So he'd yell and laugh at the same time, like, "Don't ever do that again!" But they wanted us to push the envelope, and Craig was good. I'll tell you one thing about Craig. He didn't care. He'd read it. As edgy as it was, he'd read it. He didn't care about offending anybody, and that really is like a key to good comedy. So he was good in that way,
And then everybody's thinking, wow, it's going to be hard to replace Craig Kilborn, and then Stewart comes in and turns it into an institution.
Yeah, it was crazy. That tiny Jew, I got to give it to him. He's literally 3 foot 4 inches. We would carry him around in a little bag, a Sherpa bag, like you carry a dog on an airplane. He's adorable, and he doesn't need much food because he's so tiny. No, yeah, when Don came in, we were all a little protective of the show. Like, hey, this has been going for 3.5 years, and so it was like a little bit of like feeling each other out. But then he came in, and one of the big things he did was, if you look at the early Daily Show, the focus was like on not just news and media's coverage of news and politics, but it was maybe we do jokes about pop culture and somebody in sports and somebody in music. And he said, why don't we like laser beam the focus? Because there's so much to do just with like, hey, these yahoos in Washington and the media coverage of it. And that was when it I think jumped to another level. And he's just a brilliant guy and likes to do a lot of blow, but
Well, isn't that all comics? That's why I'm in radio. See, we don't do blow in radio. It's all the comedy thing. That's why I never got into comedy, because I could never be around those people.
You guys are Boy Scouts in radio.
Seriously, I've never done blow. Never.
And I got to do some medicine. Hang on.
So now you fast forward, Jon Stewart leaves, and then boom, Colbert, who was part of that whole thing where you were around, he gets the Late Show, and now you're a part of that, right? You're writing on that?
Yeah, well, I'm like a contributor. I'm doing the audience warm-up on it. And Colbert and I go back to the Daily Show together, and I did stuff on the Colbert Report and got to meet really some cool people there. And so this just seemed like the next cool thing to do, because he takes over for Letterman in this big, beautiful theater, and it's kind of like playing Yankee Stadium after you've played at AAA, not just in terms of size, the Daily Show and Colbert Report, these smaller studios. And this Letterman covered up this beautiful dome that's in this theater, and it just, there's a band, and every night there's like some cool guests, and then like Scarlett Johansson was on, and I was like this far away, and I will tell you, Tony, that they will tase you if you touch Scarlett Johansson's ass. I'm just giving you that in case you meet her.
All right. Next time I have her on the podcast, I'll think of that. Except it's hard to do, but Skype. If she comes in studio, I may do a reach around, just to give her the hug.
You got to be careful. The same thing with Justin Stephen Breyer. They were very upset when I touched his ass. But, how can you resist? Come on. And it's like, so you're kind of like George Clooney, and we get these people on the Daily Show, but not that regularly. You get more like, on the Daily Show, you get more like the historian Doris Kearns Goodwin. Now, don't get me wrong, a lovely lady, but my pants aren't getting tight over Kearns Goodwin. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not the same thing.
Well, it's like, I've been fortunate. I've done a lot of stuff. I was Keith Olbermann. You've done that contributor thing a lot of times. I contributed to, it's funny. I would go on Fox when they would ask me to do a TV hit from LA, and then I'd go on Keith's show, and people were like, when I go on Fox, it's like, oh, you're a right-wing crazy guy, and then I go on with Keith, oh, you're a left-wing. It's amazing how no matter what you do, people want to label you as either left or right nowadays.
Exactly. So a kind of an offshoot of the Daily Show experience, and you just develop this natural ability to kind of like talk about politics and have a point of view about it, but also be funny. As I've been going on, like you do, the talk show circuit, CNN, MSNBC, ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever. And, you talk about what's in the news. So I go on Fox News, and I'm not a conservative. For me, it's the issues usually really define me. It's more I don't. And the problem with it all is like everybody's in lockstep. So there's like 8 talking points that the Republicans are all reading from, and then there's 8 talking points that the liberals are reading from, and nobody's really talking to each other. So I would go like on Hannity, and my liberal friends would be like, how could you go on Hannity? You're a Republican son. I'm like, no, I'm just having a point of view. Like we had this one moment, right? Obama was fighting with the Republicans about the budget and shutting the government down, and he said, this is a very sorry moment for the country and the Constitution, and the Republicans are holding us hostage, and the Constitution, by the way, isn't a perfect document; it's a flawed document. So I'm on the panel, and one of the guys is a black guy on the panel, and he goes, everybody's like, "This is outrageous! How could the president call our Constitution flawed?" And the black guy goes, "Yes. How could it be flawed?" And I said, "It was amended 27 times. That should give you an idea that it was flawed." And I said to him, you of all people can't say it wasn't flawed. You're a black guy. Based on the Constitution as originally written, you're like a torso. You were 3/5 a person. And he just sat there and he was like, he couldn't process beyond his politics who he actually was and the color of his skin. And so I find the same thing. Like, you go on these shows, and unless you're saying what the people watching want to hear, they automatically make you the bad guy on the other side, which is BS. It's not the case often. So it's like you can't win.
That's why I like going on. We're going on with Keith, who's obviously very, very left, but people would expect us to talk politics, and we never did. My approach is I have fun. I'm a sports guy. I can talk about anything, pop culture, fun, but it's always about having fun, and that's what you do in comedy. Everybody wants. You're a comic. You're a writer, and you try to be funny. But when you try to go on a serious show and they want you to be serious, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be serious unless it's something that's serious that I can deal with. But for the most part, I'm like the toy store. I just want to have fun, man.
Yeah, exactly. And, the thing I always liked about you, and I've listened to you for years in different formats that you've been in, and you've always jumped out at me and stood out at me as like sort of the guy that like is not just like yelling about stuff, but has point of view and is smart, especially when it comes to sports. But you also just seem like a guy that's like lived life, and trust me, your face looks it.
Thank you.
I apologize. That was unnecessary. You're nice enough to have me on your show. But yeah, I think it's like everybody gets a little too serious. Like even about sports, like that's a huge part of our culture. And I've done stuff with sports comedy, and I have a show that I did for Comedy Central and for HBO, and I did this segment for HBO where everybody talks about there should be more diversity in sports. There should be more blacks playing hockey. There should be more whites playing basketball, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote this piece that we shot where it was set in the 50s. It was a secret top-level meeting in the 50s where all the major races got together and negotiated which race was going to control which sport forever. And so I had 2 white guys, a Native American, a Latino guy, and 2 black guys. But it's the reverse of everything you think they end up wanting. Like the blacks don't want basketball, they want hockey. The Native American only gets logos, So it's a way to like say something, but also be funny. I think sometimes the sports world needs to be take itself a little less seriously. I don't know how you feel.
Not totally. That's why I've been doing this for 100. I look. By the way, speaking of appearances, I look pretty good for 75. I look terrible for 63, but I look great for 75. No, my whole approach, my whole life has been that way. It's about fun. Sports is fun. And when there are serious issues, you discuss them. But for the most part, it's entertainment. It's entertainment to us. We don't play the game. To the people who play it, it's a business. To those who watch it, gamble on it. It's entertainment and maybe a way to win some money if you
right. But and I also think that the people that are running the leagues and whatever else, and I understand it's a big money business and the sports networks have to be careful about biting the hand that feeds them, but people aren't stupid. They see through the BS, It's like the whole Greg Hart thing and, whatever, that press conference he did in the locker room as soon as he came back was ridiculous. He might as well should have just stood there with like brass knuckles on and a tank top wife beater and had the press conference. You know what I mean? Like that would be a great sketch to do. But the NFL would be afraid to let you do that. People see through it. People know the BS. People are sitting on their couch going, you're just like a politician saying what you're supposed to say, buddy. Really talk about what's going on. So I think that's the fun thing about the kind of stuff that you've been doing and the stuff that Keith did at ESPN, and I've tried to do a little bit, is sort of like, bring some fun to it, and also have like an attitude and hold people on their nonsense a little bit and go, come on, guys, maybe is this really the way it's going? Like, and question it. You know what I mean? I think it's healthy. I think it's good. Like the Daily Show's done for politics.
Speaking of doing things, now you got the podcast, 2 chairs and a microphone. Did you steal that from 2 turntables and a microphone? So you don't have a DJ in the back playing, or 2 chicks at the same time? Some of my other favorite lines.
I'm not original at all. In fact, I put myself out there as Tony Bruno. Bruno, meet my girlfriend Robin. Nobody knows. Nobody's going to care. Yes, I did. I was trying to find. I moved my podcast over to the Adam Carolla network. And I was trying to just find a different name. I had the Paul Mercurio show, and Carolla was nice enough to invite me over, and he's got a great podcast network. And I thought, let me do this. So I'm waiting for Beck to call me, although I'm not. I'm thinking it probably won't happen anytime soon. But like, I just so yeah, and it's been fun. Like, I want to have you on. We talked about that. I've had some really cool people on. Like,
trust me, I've looked at your guest list and I've heard some of your podcasts. I don't know whether you wouldn't. I wouldn't be on like your 16th page of the people you've had on your show. I mean, you had McCartney. You had astrophysicists on. You're not talking to schlep sports guys on your podcast.
No, but I would have you on. I would definitely have you on. I'd play you like late at night because you're 75 with a swollen prostate. So, there's only so much I can do with you. But no, yeah, I've been lucky. I mean, I'm like you. I think I have a pretty eclectic interest, so I didn't want to just have it be with me with comedians. So, we've had everybody from entertainment, music, sports, Bob Costas, Sugar Ray Leonard. We've had, as you mentioned, Paul McCartney, Judd Apatow, Jay Leno, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Larry King. So I'm really proud of the lineup, and I just like talking to people. I think the problem with talk shows, especially late night shows now, is you get 7 minutes, they're plugging their thing, you don't really get to know them. In a podcast like this, you can kind of get to know people. And, obviously in this case, your followers can see how adorable and handsome I am. Mm-hmm. And, basically get into stuff with people, like long form. It's really cool. Like musicians. I love talking to musicians because I don't know how to do music at all. So it's been really cool and really fun.
Do they bring their own drugs when you do a musician, or do you have to provide them for them? I don't know what the protocol is.
The deal is they bring the drugs and I bring the hooker, but the hooker has to be STD free. So I have to have
there's a Charlie Sheen joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to go there.
No, exactly. Oh my God! Tell me the whole word, then go. HIV. That's about right.
Wow. All right, so now
not anybody, but.
You got now the McCartney. Now you get Paul McCartney on, and so everybody wants to know because I spent a weekend with John Lennon when I was like 21 years old at a radio station in Philly. He didn't come to see me. I happened to be working there 5 years before he was killed. So he actually signed an autograph for me at the end of the weekend. Nobody had cell phone cameras. Nobody even had phones. So I don't have any pictures, but I have an autograph that he signed on an 8x11 lined piece of paper, and I hung it up, and he drew little glasses. So that's my most prized possession, and I didn't even ask for it, which is amazing. But then you get Paul McCartney to come on your podcast. How did that
happen? Drugs, a lot of drugs. No, he was doing a special show promoting like a box set that he was putting out at the Colbert Report. So I was working there at the time, and he does the rehearsal, and then he leaves the studio to start loading in the audience, and standing in the hallway, all alone in a little Colbert T-shirt tucked into his pants, chewing gum, leaning against the wall, looking up at the ceiling, all alone is Paul McCartney. All alone. Like, you've been around big stars, I know, in your career. A lot of these guys have entourages and this and that. You have 8 people. So
exactly.
To talk to.
Exactly.
I had to talk to Robin, and then she had to talk to a guy, and there's a midget. There's a lot of people. And yes, I said midget, not little people. I don't know how that's any less offensive than midget. And he's in the hallway, and I'm like, my whole world slows down. I'm like, oh my God, it's Paul McCartney, right? And then I'm like, should I say hi? Should I not say hi? And like, he's completely alone. And I'm like, you know what? He's alone in a hallway. He's like a gazelle on the Serengeti plain. I'm just going to pounce and ask him, right? To go up and say hi at least and introduce myself. Just talk, say hi. So I go up and say, hey, it's nice to meet you. He goes, hey, I'm a big fan. I go, I'm a big fan. He goes, I said, it's an honor to meet you. He goes, oh, thanks, man. He goes, what's your name? I go, Paul. He goes, oh. He goes, well, Paul, that's a good name, right? And I'm like, hey, I'll do the jokes, all right, pal? Back off. You just play Love Me Do and do your thing. No, so we start talking. We do stand-up. Yeah, I like stand-up. He talks about Robin Williams. You tour? Yeah, I tour. You got a kid? Yeah, me too. It's hard. 5-10 minutes go by. I'm talking to Paul McCartney like I'm talking to you. And on the outside, I'm like, hey, I'm talking to Paul McCartney. On the inside, I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking to Paul McCartney. I was out of my mind, right? And my mind's like going 2 things at once. Like I'm trying to stay in the conversation, but I'm thinking like, what's the next thing I can say to keep in the conversation going? And I'm getting really close to him, like the creepy close Turker guy. I'm close to him. Because you only see him in like TV, right? So like I'm like this, like like those chimps on the National Geographic that like cleans ticks off their mate. Like I couldn't clean ticks off his eyebrows. I was that close, right? So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave the guy alone. I go into the bathroom. I'm hyperventilating. I call my wife. I'm like, you're not going to believe it. I just talked to Paul McCartney. She goes, what are you doing in the bathroom? Are you like playing? I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you, crazy? It's not Tuesday. And so I basically go, look, I hang up the phone. I calm down and I go to myself. Paul McCartney should do my podcast. Like, that's what I think. Like, delusional, right? So I go, I knock on the dressing room door and I say, hey, look, I know this is crazy because you're huge and I'm nobody. I literally said that to him. I go, would you do my podcast? He goes, yeah, sure. That fast. So now I'm completely thrown because, like, in high school, like, if you had this hot girl you wanted to ask out and you just didn't have the guts to do it and you finally say to yourself, I'll do it, she'll say no, and I'll get it out of my system, and instead she says yes, and you don't have any plan after that, that was me. Because he goes, yeah, sure, how would we do it? And my voice literally changed to this. I was like, I'll come to London. And he's looking at me like, we're in New York together. Why would you come to London, right? And then he says to me, is it easy to do? And I actually said to Paul McCartney, oh, yeah, it's really easy. I don't want to be a bother. You could do it on your phone, naked from your toilet. And I'm like, what am I saying, right? Like, I'm screwing it up 8 weeks or something. Like, if this were a first date, it'd be over by the appetizer, right? So now I'm completely flustered. And I don't get flustered easily anymore, but I was flustered. And I go, look, I'll leave you alone. I'll go talk to one of your assistants and we'll set it up. This is the mind blow right here, Tony. He goes like this to me. He goes, no. Don't talk to my assistants. They'll muck it up. You and I will do it. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you and I will coordinate it directly. Give me your phone number. I'll call you. And when I call you, you have to be ready to do it because I'm really busy. So now my hand is shaking. I'm handing my phone number to Paul McCartney. And I did say to him, I'm not going to sleep with you, old man, just so you know. I'm no. And so I hand him the phone number. And I think I got like a super professional blow off, right? Like, you've been in the business a long time. You know how to blow somebody off if you want, right? Okay. He does the Colbert show. Amazing performance. He leaves. I'm now leaving that studio, rushing to get to the Daily Show taping. That tapes like a couple blocks away, and I'm late, so I'm rushing. And my phone rings, and I don't recognize the number, so I let it ring the voicemail. Yeah. And this is the message on my phone.
Hey, Paul, it's Paul McCartney here. I'm going to ring you back in 5 minutes to do the podcast thing. I've got some time now. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. So if you're there in 5 minutes' time, you call me. Okay, bye.
So now you got to be thinking, all right, I just blew it. He called me and went to voicemail. Now what do I do? Right?
So now I'm standing on a street corner in New York City. Now, you know, there are these unfortunate homeless people that have mental problems, and they're talking to this other voice in their head.
Usually they're the comics who are trying to sell you. They're the guys on right in Times Square trying to get you to go to their show, right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I retrieved the call. I put the phone down, and if you saw me from afar, I looked like a guy who was talking to himself because I was just screaming like a madman. Damn, scream, Paul McCartney, never get him back. Like random words like that no one could understand. I call him back. I go, I now had to stall him because I didn't have anything set up. I was just like saying yes to whatever he said to get the interview. And I go, I go, yeah. He goes, can you do it now? I go, oh, yeah, just give me 5 minutes. So I called the studio that was recording my podcast in L.A., and I go, I need a line. I got Paul McCartney on the line. And the guy actually goes to me, oh, man, there's someone using the studio right now. And I snapped, and I became this guy. I go, did you not hear me? I have Paul McCartney. Unless you have Jesus Christ or John Lennon in that studio, get him out. I had to call Paul McCartney back 3 more times and stall him for a half hour.
Wow.
I was having a heart attack. I finally said to him, look, I'm having a heart attack. Can we do this another day? He goes, no. I call him. We finally get the line. I call him back, and I get this. Oh, you got to hold on. Paul's in the bathroom. All I can picture is Paul McCartney taking a crap, right? Oh, my God. It must be the most genius crap ever. It goes down the toilet backwards, and if you can hear, Paul is dead. Like, It was the most stressful 2 hours of my life. And I got him on the phone and we did the interview.
That's great, man. And you can hear that interview by going to paulmercurio.com. And the podcast is called Two Chairs and a Microphone. Go on the website, subscribe to the podcast, and you got all kinds of stuff in there. You don't tour again until April, though, because you don't want to go out in this warm winter weather we're having here.
Yeah, my skin gets very chapped when it's cold.
You got to moisturize, man. You got to moisturize.
Yeah, I got exactly. Yes, it's the podcast. We got a lot of great people. We've got David Tell coming up, Colin Quinn. We've got major people coming up, and it's a subscription. You have to pay a little bit of money. We didn't want to do ads on this, but it's very cheap, and it helps us defray some of the cost of producing it. So I just want to tell people about that. But it's super cheap, and you get 2 podcasts a week. We drop one Monday and one Thursday. All A-line guests. Tony Bruno's going to be on. I guarantee it.
And you will reduce the price for that one only, right? You'll reduce. Give them a break.
That actually, we will be giving people money back. Listen to
Well, Paul, it's been awesome, man. It's been really awesome talking to you.
By the way, we're going to have 3 price points for yours. If you want to hear just 10 minutes, we'll give you $10 back. A half hour, we'll give you $100 back, and we'll come vacuum your house. So
beautiful. I could use that because Robin's not a very good housekeeper, but I didn't want to rip her on the podcast. I usually do that anyway, so I'll get one in on this one, too. Paul Mercurio, ladies and gentlemen, the guy's done everything. It's unbelievable. Go to his website and check out the podcast. 2 chairs and a microphone, and Beck is not going to sue because that's close but not really infringement. I don't think he can get you for that.
Yeah, and Beck needs the money. He's homeless anyway.
Exactly. Paul, great to have you on. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This is a blast.